Spring practice is such a fun time for fans. It's a time for us to get excited about players taking advantage of new opportunities and new players trying to find a role on the team. And especially at an institution like Alabama, where top tier recruiting classes have become the norm in Tuscaloosa. It's incredibly easy to get excited about all of the very talented playmakers trying to find a role on the team. But today, we need to talk about someone that Nick Saban has had high praise for. A true freshman wide receiver who early enrolled and who is an athlete coming out of high school in Kendrick Law, who's already turning heads so early in spring practice. And we need to talk about why this is big. Before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Y for yes, N for no. Do you believe if Kendrick Law continues to impress, he will find a role this fall on this team's roster and be able to make a difference? Let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, like and comment down below. Those interactions are truly massive to content creators such as myself, and both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But with all that being said, let's hop right into this. And this is news that should be music to the ears of Tide fans, because this is a position group that we've had questions about for quite some time, and especially when Alabama loses so much production out of this set position group in the wide receiver room. And I talked about the other day that if we even just narrow down our scope into the sophomore class, there's a lot of talented wide receivers on Alabama's roster that are going to be clawing to be able to take advantage of the opportunities present. However, this true freshman class was elite in terms of speed and what Alabama was able to get into that wide receiver room. Speed being something Nick Saban has been preaching about for a whole year now. And yesterday, we heard Nick Saban sing the praise of a true freshman wide receiver who early enrolled and how they're already turning heads in Kendrick Law. And this is hyper impressive for a few reasons. First and foremost, the obvious being this kid is an early enrollee. And yes, Alabama knows how to recruit. They know how to identify talent. And so ultimately, whenever you hear about a true freshman impressing during this time of the year, that's a testament to the Crimson Tide being able to identify players that they think are going to fit into their scheme. However, that does not diminish how impressive it is that someone who should be in high school right now is already turning heads at a spring practice, because as many great football players as Alabama recruits, only so many of them are going to turn heads this early, and Kendrick Law finds himself as one of those individuals. The other reason this is so impressive is Kendrick Law was an athlete coming out of high school. He was a flat-out football player. Where did you want to line him up at? On defense, he was playing defensive back, safety. On offense, everything from wide receiver to running back, but ultimately with the Crimson Tide, he finds himself in the wide receiver room, a wide receiver room that has many names trying to find a role, as we just said. The other day, I just talked about the sophomores, but there are juniors on this team that are very talented, looking to take advantage of the opportunities. So the fact that there's a true freshman who is already receiving the praise of Nick Saban this early is telling. And let's get one thing clear before we go any further. I'm not contending that because Nick Saban is impressed or because Kendrick Law has impressed during a few spring practices that he's set to be a starter. That's not my contention. What I am saying is if we're talking about laying a foundation and how to start your career at Alabama, this is about as good as you could start it if you are Kendrick Law. By putting your head down, working, and getting acclimated to what's expected of you, you're going to carve out a path for yourself, a path that you can try and take advantage of. But we really need to get into the nitty-gritty of what Nick Saban said, because it would have been impressive enough if he would have just said Kendrick Law has got a lot of speed, and that speed is something we can utilize to make plays this next coming season. That would have been impressive, but Nick Saban went further than that. He talked about not only Kendrick Law having great speed, but impressive hands. He talked about Kendrick Law having the right mindset. For a true freshman early enrollee, that's very impressive, and if he can continue down that path, he's going to carve out a place for him in this offense. But the one that I was very impressed with was when Nick Saban was complimenting Law's route running ability. Because if you're paying attention, ladies and gentlemen, that's the total package. Nick Saban complimented his speed, size, hands, and then his route running ability, while also complimenting his mental aptitude right now and being able to digest what the Tide coaches are throwing after him. That is hyper impressive, and that's why this is a name we have got to watch out for, because he's someone who could utilize his skills and impress this upcoming season. His abilities are plenty. When you watch his tape, there's not much he can't do, and that's why coming out of high school, so many people were intrigued as to where he would even play on the football field because he has so much ability. But the fact that this early into the spring, Nick Saban is complimenting his speed, his hands, his route running, and his mental preparation, that speaks great lengths about Kendrick Law and his preparedness coming into the Crimson Tide, and really lays a real positive foundation as to what this kid's ceiling could be. But I'm very interested in hearing from y'all. With this high praise, do you feel like if Kendrick Law keeps up the great work, he's going to be someone that's going to be a contributor to the offense this coming up season? And let me know what you're thinking. Also, let me know what other players you're keeping an eye out for during spring practices. That's it. See ya.